right up my alley when it comes down to supporting underrepresented individuals and helping them get placed somewhere, and also helping businesses scale, at a fraction of the cost. And so, being able to do that is just amazing. So, kudos to you, Nin. But thank you for the intro. Hey guys, I can't see your faces, but I am excited that you're here with us in the building, learning about just how to be intentional in building your 10x team. And so, even if you don't have a team yet, even if you're like, hey, I'm in the process of building my team, I'm a startup, I have limited funds, this is still the perfect place for you, okay? Because hiring, well, let's go to the slide where it says where does it hurt, right? So hiring is the most critical piece of building a 10x team. Your HR team, your recruiters, the new hire, whoever it is, a VA, a full-time employee, everyone needs to understand and know where the company is hurting. Okay. Where is your company losing? Is it customer feedback? Is it, just a list of some of these things that you see here? Is it one of these? Can anyone identify with any of these areas of pain, these pain points? Attrition, missing revenue targets, maybe the social climate, the political climate, maybe high turnover is your thing, maybe your sales are declining. If you can identify with any one of those, I just want you to say something in the chat and say, yep, I can identify with that, or I was with a company, or my company now is can identify with one of those areas, right? And so being able to understand that it's an indicator and it has a direct correlation between your team's productivity and your bottom line of revenue. So I'll give you an example. Let's just address one of these. Let's address attrition, right? So I have seen countless startup clients of mine and colleagues of mine that say as fast as they're coming in, they're leaving right back out. And the first thing I always ask is, okay, well, how is the onboarding process? Right? You have to assess that because typically the team worker has made it up in their minds in that onboarding time if they really want to be vested in you and if they feel like you're invested in them as well, right? And so during that time, that's a really key piece of it. So every time you hire someone, every time you onboard someone, emails, giving them access, giving them team members to train them, just all of the things that you have to do, you spend money. That's just one piece of why it's important to want to kill attrition completely, right? So that's one suggestion. But what if it's your pain is your sales declining, right? Let's look at the sales team. You could have an amazing onboarding experience. You could have the sharpest people, but for some reason the team is toxic. Maybe you have one really high producer, but everyone else is just okay. That would certainly hurt your bottom line number, guys. So, as a startup, sometimes we don't think about all of these things. Normally, as a startup, you're like the genius. you're the person who came up with this really great idea, and you're not really into the whole, I gotta go now, I gotta go hire the people. I just want them to work. That's the startup mindset. Just work. And we'll have fun, but let's work. But in reality, it takes a lot more intentionality than that. You have to definitely 100,000% be intentional. So, if you can relate to any of these pain points, like I mentioned before, I really want you guys to write them down because we're going to definitely come back to uh, these pinpoints a little bit later. But for now, just write them down, keep them in your thought process as we begin to go on this journey of building a 10x team intentionally. Okay. All right. So let's go to the next slide. So, chaos to collaboration. I like to start off typically just being very transparent, telling you my story, the stories of my clients and individuals that I've, had the pleasure of consulting and helping them build their teams. And typically it's in a startup or small business arena. So this true story that I have is about a fintech startup that I was so honored and privileged to work with, and they have this, they just have amazing potential. They've done some amazing things, um, but their team was overshadowed by toxicity and a lot of misunderstandings, and so the atmosphere was more of a survival of the fittest rather than fostering a collaborative spirit, right? And leadership, okay, they were startup tech, so they were the geniuses that I mentioned earlier that was just like excited to have this great product. Let's do it. People are wanting it. They like the algorithm. Let's do it. So their thought process was, okay, I know these guys are a little, maybe have some toxic traits. Okay, I see that they have this, but they were so nervous about losing the knowledge and the expertise of the teammates that were causing a little bit of challenge. Despite their negativity, despite what they put into the team dynamics, the leadership lacked the assertive stance that was needed in order to foster accountability, and unity. So it was at this point where I was referred to them, and again, it was a lot of chaos, a lot of mistrust, and but I introduced them to what I call the Dream Team Workshop. And the workshop wasn't just like a breath of fresh air, it was cleansing the organization from certain behavior patterns, okay? It was change, right? And one thing I always say is change doesn't always feel good, but all good things come from change, right? And so this is what was necessary change. But we embarked on a journey that transformed every single department. We identified every root cause that we could possibly identify, but we focused on team. We focused on team. They had a marketing team, customer success team, sales professionals, team. They had all of these different pieces. However, they were not encouraged to really share their insights and expertise. They were more so just like busy, like workers. So creating a culture was one of the things that we identified immediately that was necessary for that team, right? And as we began to just identify a variety of different things, the people who were truly invested in the company's vision, they stayed. But those who weren't weeded themselves out, along with those who were not in sync. And um, one of the things that I noticed is that's what happens when order comes to chaos. The individual or the culprit behind the chaos normally wants to go because they're like, wait a minute, it's too much order. So, as we venture deeper into today's webinar, I want you to keep this transformation in mind. So, this company went from lack of communication, just toxic environment, competition, unhealthy competition, to a well-oiled machine. They went from having meetings together, outings together. They went from not celebrating each other's birthdays to celebrating each other's birthdays. It's the little things sometimes, guys, that really help the culture grow. So they went from all of these different things that they were not doing to now having fierce clarity, like really strong clarity on what their assignments were. No project deadlines were missed. All of the things that come into play when you're looking for a 10x employee or contractor or VA. So that's what the Dream Team Workshop came in and did. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. I love it. I love a good testimony, guys. And that's my start to any webinar, is giving you a testimony of some experience of, hey, what I do works. Coming in and dissecting everything that's happening in the teams, understanding the teams, understanding what your pain points are, and aligning it to your hiring needs. That's what works. So let's go into some to the nitty gritty, which is why are things so toxic in the first place. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. why so toxic? Why so toxic? This list is a very simple list of toxic challenges or toxic reasons for toxicity. So, the first one here you can see is a lack of clarity. When you think about lack of clarity, you always think, okay, well, they know what they're supposed to do, right? They're hired to be a customer success person. Why do I have to give them intentional clarity? It's a part of good leadership, really. It's a part of effective communication. When you implement clear and open communication channels where team members can voice their concerns without fear of reprimand, that's a good sign of a healthy company. But also, when you think about lack of clarity, I want you to think about this. So let's say you're hiring a global team. Like, for example, for me, for our team, we have a good mix of different individuals from the US as well as, from all over. And so when you're hiring a global team, the key that you have to understand is sometimes you guys are coming from very different backgrounds, very different backgrounds, very different languages, all of that, right? So even though English is their second language, English is your first language. So I'll give you an example. I was explaining something to one of my specialists, and I said, "Yeah, it's so funny. I haven't seen her in a minute." And she's like, "Oh, a minute." She's like, "So you haven't seen her in a day? Is that it?" But in like slang terms and how I say it, it means like I haven't seen her in a long time. So even though it's saying in a minute, it really means a long time. So you have to just be really careful in your communication and really making sure that you're giving off the right clarity. Okay. So that means asking questions. If you want a 10x team, when you're hiring, you, after the hire, whatever the case may be, when you are interfacing with your new hire or old hire, you want to make sure you ask, can you tell me what I just told you? Can you help me understand that you understand, basically? So that's what like intentional clarity is. It's asking the right questions, it's making sure they understand, it's asking them to kind of regurgitate what you just told them to, and to do. So that's a challenge. Okay. Another challenge is poor leadership. We talked about that. Just someone who's not open, who's not giving positive enforcements, who may not have ever been a leader before. Like I said, a lot of times in startups and small businesses, some of these entrepreneurs have not been entrepreneurs before. I mean, they've not managed people in their previous roles in corporate America, so they don't know how to manage. Um, Unclear roles, that's a really good thing here. I'll stop here for a second because unclear roles, I want to really clarify what that means. So, unclear roles is not saying that you hired someone and they don't know what they're doing. Unclear roles is you hired someone to be a social media assistant, but you have her or him doing something totally different. Maybe taking voicemail messages now, like like answering the phone or something, without a clear communication and a plan on why you're doing this or what's going to happen next. It's very important to make sure, especially if you're hiring globally, that you are very clear on the role that that person is, and that you, if there is a change, that it's a progressive change and it's a mutually beneficial change, and it's a change that they both agree to. Okay, you guys both have to agree to the change. Okay, so that's unclear roles. And then lack of recognition and reward. The previous company, the fintech that I was mentioning, they just wanted to be recognized. That was like that was the root cause of a lot of issues. They felt like they were just working, 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 and no one was recognizing their work. They weren't being honored. They weren't getting any rewards. I mean, they just felt like worker bees. Has anyone ever felt like that before? I can't see your faces, but I want you to know if you guys have seen some of these challenges and felt like, hey, I can identify with that. That's something that I'm dealing with right now. So I want you to let me know if that's something that you've ever experienced. But lack of recognition was one of them. The other is basically overload and burnout. Okay. Uh, overload and burnout is very sneaky. It comes up on you very sneakily. And initially you think, hey, I can handle this. And you just begin to be the yes person. But in reality, you have to have boundaries and even understanding who you work amongst, understanding the people who you labor with. It's important because if you don't know your teammate, if you don't know your new contractor's personality and work style and behavior patterns, you won't be able to tell the signs, right? So being very inquisitive, implementing policies that prevent work burnout, like reasonable work hours. The previous company that I just mentioned, we implemented a mental wellness for the benefits. Now, even though they were not, what do you call it? They weren't W-2 employees, they still were able to offer them mental health care benefits, like mental benefits where they got a certain amount of money per month to do self care. It didn't necessarily have to be a therapist, it could be a spa day or whatever, but they got $50 a month to handle that. Okay, so you can absolutely address overload and burnout for global teams or for your internal team. So, what else is next? And then unhealthy competition. Oh, this is a good one. So, unhealthy competition is just what I previously experienced, is just where team members are, because no one's getting their due recognition. Now they're like combating each other. There's no true team camaraderie, and if they see it at the top where there's no cohesion, where they don't, you're not uh, collectively saying happy birthday, something small as that. You're not collectively celebrating a milestone. It's just work, 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 to-do list, work, project, deadline, work. It You start to see unhealthy competition just birth itself out, because now they're just kind of like, for the smallest bit of attention, they're looking for it. And so, yeah, so you want to encourage healthy competition where they can collaborate and work together. And, when you do like team projects together, all that good stuff, it really helps with this unhealthy competition syndrome that a lot of sometimes global teams have as well. So, the solutions. If you look over here to the right, you should see a circle. If not, you can click it again and you'll see a circle, because that's what we came here for, solutions. We don't want to talk about the problem too long. We want to talk about the solutions, right? So, when it comes to solutions, trainings and workshops, that's number one. That typically, when it comes to leadership, not understanding what to say, how to say it, and when to say it, it's training, right? When it comes down to building team camaraderie, sometimes it can be a workshop. Another solution is feedback and open dialogue, right? You want to make sure that there is some type of performance review in place. I don't care if they're assisting you for 5 hours a week. At the end of that week, here's my feedback. And I'd like to hear your feedback on what I can do better. I noticed that, sometimes I kind of, maybe it seems like I'm barking orders. If ever that happens, if ever you feel like that, blah, blah, blah. You get what I'm saying, guys? So you just want to make sure that you are intentional about giving your feedback to your employees, right? So another solution is leadership accountability. So being accountable. Leaders should be giving out surveys, anonymous surveys, and being able to hear the real deal. A lot of leaders don't want to hear. They just want you to work. And so, being able to have that accountability through those surveys, and then not only having the surveys, but then after the surveys are done, and you see all this feedback, you go, now it's time for implementation. Out of all of this, what can I start to implement now? Employee assistance programs, I mentioned that earlier, the mental health situation. Like, if you're a small business and you're like, hey, I can't afford this or that, like I said, $50 a month for them to do whatever they want. That's not a huge big deal, right? But it's worth it when it comes down to looking at your attrition, right? So intervention and mediation, again, that goes into having, in my opinion, a third party come in and be very non-biased, like I have done in so many occasions, and just take a look at the whole scope of everything, get a good bird's eye view, and begin to, department by department, help you guys come to a better, more collaborative place. Okay, and then last but not least is team. Those are those team building activities, which I absolutely love. Those are my favorite, and you know, believe it or not, they they need that. If you're in the office with someone and all you guys are doing is just working, 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 it can feel, you can feel stifled. So as an employee, and everyone has been an employee before, when you don't get a chance to interact on a different level than just work with your employees, you get that syndrome where you're in and out. You come into work and you're out. You're not even you're not even waving 2 seconds. You're like, "Doop, I'm out," right? You know those guys. They come in, they come out. They don't speak a lot to different people. It's because they haven't seen it. They don't understand that culture. All you got to do is present it to them, and then they'll kind of jump in, and they'll be okay with it. Learning their personality and learning their behavior patterns is very important when it comes to those solutions. So we talked about the toxicity. We talked about the solutions to all of this. So now it's time to implement some stuff, okay? Now, I want to steal 5 minutes. I feel like, do I have 45 minutes for this? If this is 45 minutes, then I want to steal 5 minutes. If I can steal 5 minutes, okay, perfect. I have a link to an assessment that takes 5 minutes to do. And I want to, the reason why I want to do this is because I really want you to see, like, this is not hocus pocus. A lot of people, and especially, it depends on like your mindset as it relates to predictive indexing and things like that. But for me, um, I'm not a superstitious person whatsoever, but I am love data. I'm a people, but I'm also a data person. So mix those together, and that's me. We can go to the next slide. Mix those together, and that's me. Why I'm saying that is because the assessment that I want you guys to take, it pulls data that you're going to fill out. I think if we're in the chat, I think Z, you can, if you can, um, post that link to my friends here that I can't see. So post that link, and I like to, for each of you to take a brief moment to complete this predictive index assessment, because um, it's going to help with everything that we're going to talk about. So, and you're going to discover some things about yourself that you already know and some things that you don't know. But what I love, and I mean, seriously, guys, what I really, really love about this behavioral kind of assessment measurement, it is not about your personality. It is about your work related personality. It's about your work based behavior, your behavior style. Okay, so that you can be able to be used appropriately and managed well in your environment. That's the first step. Like, first, you got to understand all the definitions. What's toxicity, right? We did that. You got to understand what's your pain points. Okay, maybe your pain points is attrition, like we talked about. We got that. Maybe it's unhealthy competition. I don't know. Whatever your pain point is. But okay, but for some reason I put my phone on do not dis- I mean my computer on do not disturb, and it's still going through. There we go. All right. So, but one of the things, guys, that you have to know in order to get a 10x team is the teammate. You have to understand who that person is, how they think, what they think about, what moves them, what motivates them, right? What makes them go, "Oh, thanks." What makes them go, "Yeah, I'm all in." What triggers them? What type of language? What type of tone? All of these things are really, really helpful. And the reason why, because I'm so confident in PI, the reason why I want you to take this assessment is 100% free. you're not paying for anything, not doing anything. The reason why I want you to take this is because I want you to see the power in it. Okay? So I want you to see the power. And did we pass it out? I don't know if maybe 4 minutes. So we got 2 more minutes, and then we'll keep it going. Okay. So cool beans. So you guys are doing that. So great, 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 great. So you guys see the different types. You got the captain, the analyzer, the adapter, the persuader, the guardian. We're going to talk about all those, and not all of them, but we'll talk about one in particular in a second. So let's keep going while you guys are completing that, and let's go to the next slide. Okay, let's go into innovation and problem solving. So when it comes down, to that, you know what? Actually, let's go here. I want to. I'm thinking about. I'm gonna share my screen if I am able to. Not yet though, not yet, because I don't want to mess anything up. And this thing is running smoothly so far. So let's go back really quick to the full potential of your team, real quick. I want to talk about one of those really quickly while they're finishing up. So really quickly, guys, hopefully you're almost like at the point where you're almost finishing up your assessment. It takes like it's super quick to take, and some of you may have found that you are one of these on the screen, persuader, whatever. The profiles are very interesting if you take a look at them. But I want to talk about a persuader really quickly. It's someone who's not only driven, but has the ability to influence people around them. They have a knack for communication. They're often seen rallying others towards like a common goal. And it's not just about what drives them, it's also about how others perceive them. So being a persuader means that you have a natural magnetism, a charm about yourself. So let's imagine that we, let's imagine how could we nurture someone who is a persuader? Like how can we nurture that person to shine, right? And that it's all, listen, it's all about fostering a space where they can freely express their ideas, a place where their drive to influence is seen as a blessing and not a curse, and someone or some place where there is open dialogue. Someone values their input, and their motivational spirit is like rewarded. So I want to share my story here because I am a persuader. Don't tell anybody, but I'm a persuader. And I worked at a senior level role doing training and recruiting in IT for a very well known company. And I was told in one of my performance reviews that I did really well in, but I was told that I was too ambitious, that my LinkedIn post seemed to promote myself and not the company, which is rather funny because the last time I checked, guys, when you create your own LinkedIn profile, it really is yours. But that's a whole nother story. But I was told that by a leader. And I don't have to tell you guys, I left that company. And soon after that, that division that I was in, I was the top recruiter. I was the only one that received a bonus every year. It dissolved. That the subsidiary that I was under, it dissolved. And I'm not saying I did that because I left, but I left with my expertise. I left with my knowledge. Um, which is not something that's easily replaced. Okay, you can, people can say, oh, we'll just hire another person. It doesn't always work like that. It sometimes it goes, you have to go through so many just to find the one that can really hold the weight, that can fulfill the role properly. So this is where the role of predictive index becomes absolutely golden. It helps us pinpoint these individual strengths and carve out paths that let each team member flourish in their own unique way, right? So if you have a persuader like me on your team, gear up to leverage PI so you can cultivate their growth oriented space where they can use their influencing capabilities for good, and it can be seen as something positive and not a negative, right? So that's where I wanted to go. Hopefully, you guys have fulfilled it. If you've already completed your assessment, let me know. Just say, "Hey, I got it. I filled it. I filled it out," and let me know in the chat what yours says that you are. Like, what's your profile? I want to see if I have any captains in the house. I love a good captain. All right. So now we can move to innovation and problem solving. So really quickly, this is just basically so you guys can see. I always like to put like again, I told you guys I like testimonies. So this is just problem solving, innovation, and problem solving. Just basically telling you about PI and how it's helped them, their team, understand each other better, work effectively together, pinpoint strengths, be able to really increase in innovation because now the wheels are turning. You're putting the right people together. You're putting the persuaders with the promoters, with the altruists, and it's just like making this beautiful magic happen. And it's a beautiful thing. So now we can keep going, past that one because I love that one. But we can go to the next one. Synergy in diversity. So one of the biggest wins in fostering a successful team is identifying and blending their strengths of each team member. And so that's where predictive index comes into play, and they do it very, very well. Okay. And so I'm going to just share the here. You can see a glimpse into our diverse powerhouse team. We're a mix of altruists, individualists, collaborators, captains, promoters, controllers, persuaders, and it's a pretty jam packed. Um, the great thing about each person is they have like their role. So me, who am I? Persuader, right? So I'm the spirited person. I'm like, let's have an event. Let's do this. Let's do an internal this. Let's create an intranet so that we can all have this going on. Let's create a talent of the month. Let's do. I love rallying the team together for brainstorming sessions, for training sessions, for just whatever sessions, like fun sessions. We just recently did a celebration of The Office. Anyone like to watch The Office besides me? I still watch it, and there's no new episodes, but I just love that show. But anywho, so watching The Office, I found there were some other fans on our team who love The Office as well, and so we all dressed up as someone from The Office, and it was just a fun time. We did like a little quiz and connected it to how team collaboration is important, but also knowing your teammate is even more important. So anyway, next up we have those promoters that I mentioned earlier. That's Z and Hazel. They are the people who focus also on creativity, a lot of energy, whether it's like a community event or social media campaigns. They're doing it, and they have an innovative approach. That's what they bring to the table. We have Rain, who's a controller, keeps us grounded. He adheres to processes and standards, very seamless in doing his organizational thing. Okay, and his balance is just amazing. Then we have our altruist, who is basically someone who knows how to create the culture of understanding, right? Reminds us of who we are, our greatest strengths, and our unity. She's all about all that. Anywho, um, I say all of that to say, together we form what's called a bolstering team. That's a unit that's resilient, adaptable, and supportive. And I want to show you guys. Now I can jump in if I can and share my screen. I want to show you guys before we jump off today. I want to show you how important it is to understand yourself and what predictive index does to help you collaborate better, finish projects on time, and be able to just communicate effectively and become adaptable and supportive and resilient, just like this team that I have here. So, Nan, you let me know when I can share my screen, and I'm going to share it. Hey, okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to hope that It sticks around. Okay. So, you guys, this is predictive index. And so this is our team here. One of the first things that it shows us is where everyone falls on the team. So I broke down everyone's profile, right? As you can see here, that's me, pink. Where do I fall, guys? Right here in innovation and agility. Then we have a good amount of people from our team that falls in the teamwork and employee experience. Okay, I saw that it kicked me out. I'm gonna keep pushing it. So the window. Okay, so maybe that's what helps. Okay, so I'll do that. Let me share my window. Hold on a second. Yeah, that is it's so weird. It is so weird. I'm just make I'm just making sure that I can okay. Yeah, you're right. So, can you see okay. Oh, wonderful. Okay, very good. So this is the four quadrants of a PI, right? To understanding your team. So innovation and agility, that's where I fall under. Okay, guys. And then do you see how many people from my team fall over here? Under teamwork and employee experience, that's their focal point. That's what they focus on. And then we have the loner here. That's the controller, Mr. Rain. And he's all about results and discipline. Now, we do need someone to make it a balanced team. You do want someone that's in process and precision. And there you go. That's this person here. Even though they have a little foot in teamwork, they're still considered process and precision. So, what predictive index does, it takes all of the assessments, all the information that we placed in there, and it tells us what type of team we are, what's our work style. And it also helps us understand like team building activities and different types of relationship building activities that can help us to be a better team, right? And really quickly, I told you guys we are a bolstering team, full of energy, full of a lot of different things, but it also helps us to understand our caution areas, right? So, as much as I like to say we have some great strengths because we do, predictive index also goes through some of the things that we need help with. So we struggle to balance our needs, right? Definitely when it comes down to speed, sometimes it used to get really shaky there. But what happened was we were able to utilize some of the various team building and training suggestions to make sure that we are all about really strong processes and making sure that we are having like that fierce clarity that I mentioned, intentional clarity that I mentioned, and that's what helped us really become the 10x team that we are right now. Right now, I mean, it's crazy. We went from probably in the customer complaint department, probably about 30%. We were at between 20 and 30% to now we're at like under 5% when it comes down to customer complaints. And we've seen the visuals, we've seen the growth in each of our clients and their communities. And it's simply because we decided to take a chance with PI and do something different and really try to understand each other better. So I want to tell you real quick. I'm gonna tell my business. I'm not gonna tell anybody else's. All right, so real quick, I'm gonna tell you as far as a persuader is concerned. As you can see here, it talks about not just me and my strengths, driving change, being motivating, but it goes into my caution areas. What does it say? May appear talkative, just a smidget, just a little bit, but you guys probably already peeped that out, right? So but may provide limited follow up or attention to detail. So here's the thing, learning caution areas about yourself. What is that? Raise your hand if you know what that does for you. It helps you so that you can have a mirror and start being intentional about fixing it. So for me, my area of my lack of follow up I needed to do was get an assistant. I mean, come on. I'm multitasking all the time. I have a lot of different hats that I wear. I knew that I needed someone to kind of help me in that area. And so where I'm weak, she's strong, right? So attention to detail was an area that I immediately attacked. And so when you give people, your team members, this information, it's not to talk about them. It's not to say you talk too much. It's not to say you don't follow up. It's to say here's some areas that we can work on together, right? Here's some things that we can really do to really help you. Not only can I do this, guys, but I'm going to jump in to an area I'm not necessarily, I'm not supposed to show you all of this stuff. I'm going to show you anyway, because guess what? I like you. All right. So not only can we create jobs and all this really great stuff to create jobs specific to what your needs are as a team and what your needs are as a company, but you can also find out relationships. So that's what I wanted to do. I want to go to relationships real quick. I want to show you how to understand how to effectively communicate with someone like myself. And then in doing this, I'm really just trying to help you see. Let's go here. What in doing this, I'm really trying to help you see how effective this is with really, like I said, being intentional about your. Hold on. There we go. Oh, gotta find me. Being intentional about your team, having a 10x team. So, Monique with others, well, you can see my behavior. I'm giving you all my business, guys. You guys are all in my business, but I can literally put a person, like if you recently put your information in here, I could pull you up, but I'm just going to pull you up here. I'm going to pull up my assistant. We're going to get real. We're going to get real. All right, so so this is my assistant and this is me. So you can see she's a promoter and I'm a persuader, right? So it's going to help us to understand and even avoid conflict, right? So relationship strengths. Well, I can help Z by supporting her ideas, right? Both of us are friendly, expressive, but Z is able to encourage and act as a counterbalance when I feel frustrated by our communication. Now Z can testify. Go ahead and testify, and I'll say amen. Okay, because Z can tell you that this is real. And on top of that, you can also see some areas of caution. Why do you need to see areas of caution? Because sometimes you don't know sometimes, most times, guys, you don't really know your teammate. You know their work personality, but you don't know them. So on a day where they could be short or they could be, just it could be some type of it's something that you notice about them and you're like, I didn't like that. But it's just because that's just not the way that you communicate. So understanding that that's how they communicate can perhaps help you in not necessarily taking offense or something like that. So for me, I have a tendency to rush conversations. That may frustrate Z because she talks really like methodical and takes her time. And I'm like, that's me. So, but rushing it is not out of because I don't value her. It's because I'm trying to maybe move to the next thing or, okay, got it. Okay, I feel like we got it. So let's go to the next thing. Okay, let's keep it moving. And she's still like, okay, so that's her personality. So those are some relationship cautions. Interrupting each other. When we first started, we definitely interrupted each other. When our first communication with each other, and just like the first couple of months of her being my assistant, we interrupted each other a lot. But knowing these caution areas helped us so that we could know when to initiate community. Oh, let me let her finish. Okay, now I can say something, So this is so helpful when I tell you guys that PI changed the game when it came down to having a 10X team because not only do you have a cheat sheet, you understand the person who you're working with and the tips on how to really foster the relationship to go to the next level. And that makes you more productive, right? So, me and Z, we remember to actively listen and leave each conversation with a clear list of next steps because it could be very vague and initially it was very vague in the beginning, but now we have it down packed. right? We have EODs every day. We talk to each other. We find out what's going on. That's the key, right? So this is just like one little piece that I wanted to show you, but there's all sorts of different things that you can do. You can see, for example, while you're interviewing someone, before, and this is what I say to employers, before you even get to the place of interviewing, throw them in a person, excuse me, a predictive index assessment. So while you're interviewing them, you can have a whole guide on who they are and aligned with your actual job description. Okay, so I don't have time to like go over everything, but I just really want to show you guys this because I thought it was super important that you understood that. And let's see here. There we go. So that's PI. That's the secret sauce. It's you if you utilize it in the hiring stage, that's when it's most effective to go through because you're basically hiring with the PI system. So it's already starting off really well because you know the person and you know what kind of team you're implementing, or putting together, right? So knowing their individual strengths from the beginning is a positive. Then it helps with training and development. So after the hiring stage, you get a chance to understand the areas that they need training in. Like for me, active listening was something that I needed to take a couple of classes in. No, but tailored training and development programs are super important because it aligns with your business needs, and that's how you 10x a person. So integrating the PI insights also helps with knowing how to engage that employee or contractor, knowing how to keep them, right? The strategies that comes from implementing this PI secret sauce is basically you keep your clients smiling because your projects are on time, because your team is not being switched out every 15 minutes. They're like, oh, I thought this was this. Oh, I thought what happened to this person? You don't have to do that when you implement PI. And then we also it helps you to create SOPs because, of course, like I told you, the customer complaints that we had took a really there was really bad because things weren't being there was a lot of things falling by the wayside because we were not effectively communicating and we didn't understand our team. And so when we began to implement PI, it went all the way to under 5%, right? That we already talked about that. And that had a lot to do with us creating SOPs. And so PI can help with getting to that place of, hey, 5% of customer complaints, I'll take that. I'd love to have zero, but 5% is way better than 20 something. All right. So um, oh, yes, the ripple effect. So not only does it help when it comes down to the 10x team, you want someone that's going to be able to grow, and that's what happened with Rain here. He came in as an assistant. He moved his way up, and it's because we literally assessed him. We understood who he was, and we began to allow his succession plan to be aligned. With his PI insights and analytics. Okay. And so that's how he was able to just like grow. And we gave him the right training, the right development, all that good stuff. He was already a controller. So that was what that was. But anywho, hopefully you guys have learned how PI is my secret weapon to making my team and can make your team a 10x team. I am so ecstatic that we got through this without getting kicked out. So now I'm a fan of Zoho because I know how to work it now. But it's definitely one of those things where, like I say, guys, you want to make sure that you are being intentional about who your team is. And I hope that you learned that today through some of these examples and through the PI secret sauce. So, do we have any questions? Oh. Hmm. I feel like yes. And here's the thing, there's no like perfect team, right? But it is important to know where you fall weak. I know that I fall weak in following up. I know that I fall weak in sometimes, different, processes and things like that. And so having someone who is process strong or highly analytical, that it just perfectly with what I'm lacking. So I would say yeah, you want someone on your team that can help wherever you're falling short. Absolutely, absolutely. All you have to do is I just had it up on the screen here. But okay. I think I'm out. There we go. Yes, so absolutely. You can book a call with me. It's 100% free. As a matter of fact, because I love what Snapbrillia is doing and I love the mission and I love the cause, I definitely want to offer the first like three individuals a free consultation session. So if they are, someone who's like, hey, I want to know like how I can, help my team and you want to tell me a little bit about your team and even perhaps have them complete an assessment. We can do a full consultation for you for 100% free, but just the first three people. And then that's it. So if they're interested, yes, if they're interested, all they have to do is click that link, bit.ly/, build your 10x team, I think. Mhm. Yeah, they are. Survival of the fittest. Mhm. Yeah, I'm here for it. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, so you wanna go for you well, first of all, you wanna know your pain point. You wanna go for whatever that looks like. So the solutionist, the person that's gonna solve that pain point. So if you know that, for instance, your team is missing someone that's process oriented, but that is also a customer success professional, then you wanna look for companies that deal with something similar to you. For example, your competitors You want to maybe focus on them because there's not a whole lot of training involved when someone has very similar characteristics or services that you have as a company. And so, identifying individuals that can already do the job, but then, like I said, putting them through the predictive index assessment helps you to see where they fall in your team or where they could potentially fall in your team. So that's the secret sauce. It's predictive index can help make that person a 10x person. They don't necessarily. I don't think they always come in the door as 10x because I'll say it this way. For me, I'm definitely a 10x employee anywhere. Well, most places that I go, but the place that I shared with you guys in this example of the senior leader that said that I was too ambitious, I, a lot of things I did begrudgingly. Um, I was not. I was not very. I wasn't open to say yes to things. I had a strong no on my tongue. And whenever they asked me for something, I was like, no, I can't, because I wasn't bought into the company. I was literally just trying to figure out what to do next. And so I think you can have a 10x person, but if you don't have the right culture and environment for them, they could end up being a 5x person, like a sharp person that just isn't applying themselves completely because they're unhappy. So yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Great answer, by the way. Another question here we have is, are there any instances where it didn't work, the tools weren't accurate, um, and what would you recommend? Or
You know what? There was one instance that I can think of, and I've listen. If you guys can see in when I shared my screen, I have tested a lot of people with predictive index. But one person, she was on her way out the door of this new startup company. She Before I came, she had been with them for almost a year and a half, and she was over it. She was over it, and her results were so skewed because she did not really answer them properly. She just like clicked the yeah, and she just went through it. She's like, "Yep, I'm finished." And when we put the whole thing together, we were like, something's not adding up. When we took her out, everything looked like it was supposed to look like everything that we talked about and the previous issues, everything kind of came to play, but she was not honest. So I think the only time it doesn't work is if you don't answer honestly, or you answer with an answer that you feel is appropriate and not true. Like, I should, for this type of, because I'm going for a sales role, I should say that I'm highly competitive, but really I'm not, you know? So that's the only way it doesn't work if you're doing like a, maybe I should say this type of answer versus like, this is who I am. And I always say that if you answer this with in the utmost sincerity and being completely true and transparent, we're going to get the right answers and you're going to love what you get. You're going to love the whole process because you were real, you were authentic. So that's the only way that it would work.
oh, that's a really good insight. Thanks for sharing that. That people have to be
Mhm.
objective on these forms and share, not just like oftentimes when I fill out like any forms for personality tests and psychological metrics, psychometrics, and so on. I try to be as objective about myself as possible if I am filling it out, or even ask somebody that knows me, interacts with me, to fill out certain parts that I'm not sure, and I ask, you're in this case, I ask my spouse. So if it's between outgoing or introverted, what is it? And she would obviously say, yeah, you're definitely not an introvert. So uh,
Exactly.
yeah, if you're unsure, you can always ask as a test taker. Um, yeah. eh, Last.
And I would say that I
Mhm.
would say too, before you go to that last one, I think in general it's so healthy. It's mentally healthy and it's just healthy for who you are as a person to know to get an audit from other people about you anyways. Like just doing that is it's a really great eye opener. I started doing that back in 2018, and just really just asking questions about my like, hey, if you had to describe me to someone else, how would you describe me? And I want you to be really honest, and you'll be surprised at the answers that you hear.
Least question, someone said, performers tend to stay longer at companies. I can see clearly why. Um, have you been able to measure how longer or what the retention how that retention increases over time?
So, okay, yeah. So, especially when you think about attrition, right? That's what a lot of companies are facing, like crazy. And a lot of it has to do with it can be so many different things. But the key is yes, the answer is yes. We do track that, especially if you have a talent optimization consultant like myself. I am going to track all of the individuals that come in to see how long they stay because the key is, and this is what talent optimization is about to me. The key is not looking for I want to hire. Like I don't want to hire for like the day. I'm looking for when can I want to schedule our anniversary date. Like that's what I'm thinking about when I'm hiring someone. Like in 1 year, where are we going to go eat to celebrate your 1 year anniversary? So when you're focusing, that's what PI does. It really helps you focus on the 1 year, the 2 year, the 3 year. It helps you focus on the future date by making sure you take care of them in the present. So hopefully I answered that question properly.
Yeah, I think you did. You hired intentionally, right? Yeah, and that's the first part. Like when everybody that hires, hopefully, okay, hopefully everybody that hires wants to hire an employee and set them up for success, and that is very true for almost every employer and every manager out there. They don't want to add people to the team just because they want to, have an empty opening. But they want the team members to succeed. They want the whole team to succeed, which ultimately will lead to the managers or the company's success. But beyond success, for us, it's since we're a mission-driven company, it's about advancing the mission of getting more underrepresented and self-taught people better access to opportunities. And we need, I understand that you need a whole village to make something like that happen, right? So, um, you know, for us, I actually really measure the retention and attrition, right? Because, if people come in and they learn everything and they join us and they're doing amazing, and then, hey, Nan, I got a job at Amazon or I got a job at Google or somewhere else, right? That does happen. If that's a next step in their career, that's fine, right? We want to bless them in that way. But if it's, oh, well, I didn't like the team lead, or I didn't have anything to do, or that's an amazing water bottle, by the way, Monique. Uh, I love it.
The persuader in me.
Yeah, that's right. Um, but like, yeah, how can I invest in people so that they enjoy what they do here? They enjoy the team, they enjoy working with others, they enjoy what they're doing, right? And most of all, like most people leave because of their manager, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, like I gave you guys my example. My leader, it was my leader that made me leave a very cushy job with some great benefits. So I would you some people say, "Hey, just give better benefits and give more money." But for a peace of mind, and to feel like you belong somewhere, you cannot put a price on that. So a lot of times that's what the predictive index comes in, and it really helps you to assess each person. And not only that, but it gives you ideas as a leader. There's leadership development training that I implement inside of not just, within the whole consulting program. It's not just giving you a whole bunch of data. No, there's implementation that we do immediately so that you as a leader can understand how to ask for feedback, how to have open dialogue, and how to be intentional about relationship building. You could be someone who's focused, head down, not really a people person, but there are certain things that you can do, even as an introvert, that can help you to still look like you are trying to build a relationship. So I just help out with so many different things that pertains to keeping your team happy, because your team's happiness is going to depend on who they are. So you first got to get to know them through that assessment, and then follow up, performance reviews, surveys, constant communication, data, 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 data. That's what you want to do to in order for them to stay. So that's my answer to that for sure.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing your how to build your 10x team. It's really not just hiring, but building. And honestly, 10x teams, once they happen, they're amazing and they're natural, just like belonging, right? When you belong to
Mhm.
something, you just belong. There's no extra steps that you need to make. Um, awesome. I think we did the Q&A. Thank you for everybody for your questions and staying a little bit extra. And also thank you, Monique, for your presence and for all of your insights and knowledge that you've shared with us today, and also for the amazing tool. It's just for those of you that did not take it or didn't have access to it, I shared the links in a chat in Q&A. So it's predictiveindex.com. Super cool. First time I'm learning about it. And for the
Mhm.
first three lucky people that have booked with Monique Davis, she'll connect with you and do and help you understand your team and how to manage your team and even understand yourself in a workplace environment and the dynamics of. So highly recommend that. For us, we are doing these lightning talk sessions once a month or so. Sometimes we skip a month just to give the speakers a breather, but and give ourselves and yourself a breather. But generally, once a month we have a lightning talk, just like with Monique, to share about hiring, talent acquisition, anything, stories, inspiring stories. So next month we may have Jennifer Wanrit and Motofa to come back. I'm pretty sure, or we will have a different speaker. I need to double check with Valencia, who's amazing at hosting and running these webinars in background. Just like you have Z, Monique, I have Valencia and others to help me.
Yeah,
They deserve the recognition and the praise.
they do.
Uh, hey, practicing what you preach, right? Recognition and awards. So I definitely celebrate everybody on our team. Take a moment today, everyone, to celebrate yourself and other team members that are really putting in the work and contributing, and even those that uh, are putting in the work and have not been celebrated in a while. It's not all about money. A kind word goes a long, long way. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Monique, for being an amazing, amazing speaker. And I hope to see you guys next time. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.